Are you running out of disk space? Need to lower the electric bill in your home lab? Looking for the perfect server that won't break the bank? Well, you've come to the right place. Let me show you how. First things first, a huge thank you to the team at UGREEN for sending over the DXP4800 Plus NAS for us to check out today. I'm really excited about this one because it's exactly the kind of device that so many of you have been asking about. For a long time, having a home lab with a NAS was something only tech enthusiasts were really into, but with the explosion of 4K content, our massive personal media libraries, and a need for a secure place to store our data, more and more home users are looking for a reliable, powerful storage solution that increases privacy and data control. That's where a NAS like the DXP4800 Plus comes in, and this one is packed with features that make it a serious contender for your new home lab centerpiece. Under the hood, this thing is an absolute powerhouse. It's rocking an Intel Pentium Gold 8505, a 5-core CPU that delivers serious processing power for all your tasks. It comes with a baseline of 8GB of DDR5 RAM, which is completely expandable up to 64GB. The unit is a 4-bay diskless model, so you can outfit it with the exact hard drives or SSDs that you need to meet your storage goals. But the real oomph comes from the connectivity. This isn't just a regular NAS, it's equipped with both a 10 gigabit and a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet RJ45 LAN ports. And to top it off, it even has a 4K HDMI output, opening up a world of possibilities for a direct media experience or a more flexible setup. Now, for my use case, I've got a massive media library, everything from movies and TV shows to my family photos and home videos. Now, I'll be using this with Jellyfin for one of the projects to stream all of that content seamlessly. Speaking of which, we're going to set up Jellyfin in this video to show just how easy it is to get it deployed and start watching your content anywhere. Beyond that, this NAS will be the central hub for my entire video editing workflow with those blazing fast transfer speeds. I can work on my YouTube videos directly off the NAS without having any lag, making the entire process smoother and more efficient. Now, before we move on, I want to touch on something that really sets a great NAS apart from an amazing future-proof one, and that's expandability. You might be wondering, what else can you do with this little powerhouse? Well, UGREEN made it incredibly easy to get inside and really customize it. If you flip the unit over, you will see a removable plate that gives you access to the heart of the machine. Once you take that off, you will find two very important things. First, you can easily upgrade the RAM. While it comes with 8 gigs of DDR5, you can swap it out to a max of 64 gigs, giving you even more headroom for demanding tasks like running multiple virtual machines. And the second, you'll find 2 dedicated slots for NVMe drives, which you can use to add high-speed SSDs to either create ultra-fast storage pools for your most critical data, or my favorite, to use them as a read-write cache to accelerate the speed at which files can be written to the disk array or read from the disk array. This kind of easy upgrade path is fantastic for future-proofing your home lab. I'm actually so excited about this that I'm planning an entire series dedicated to upgrading and tinkering with this NAS, where we'll walk through adding both RAM, NVMe drives, modifying the NAS in different ways that you would probably not thought of. So make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss out on that content. So let's set things up. You just need to make sure your NAS is powered on and connected to the same network that the device you're registering it on is also connected to, i.e. your mobile phone. Find the UGREEN NAS app in the Play Store or the iOS Store, and we'll also install the Windows apps later on too. When that's installed, open the app and agree to the relevant terms after reading them thoroughly. If you're new to the UGREEN universe, then hit New Device Registration, otherwise log in with your existing account. If your device is successfully connected to the same network as the mobile you're registering it on, you will find it pop up in the display. Otherwise, click Scan the QR code and it's on the underside of the NAS. In this instance, we're just going to click Register and continue with our setup. Now it's time to create our local administrator account, fill out the details and move on. Now, it's suggested to bind an email address because you can use it to access the NAS anywhere should you want remote access enabled, and the second is that it even notifies you of any issues that it detects on your NAS. You'll be required to enter a verification code from that email address, and sadly they do not allow plus addressing. Now, this next step could be the most important you make with your NAS. You're now configuring the update system. Specifically, if you want automatic updates for important ones only, or all of them, or just notify you when updates are available. Now, personally, in my home lab, I do not allow automatic updates for the vast majority of my devices, other than my firewall and various operating system critical updates. The reason for this is because some updates can go wrong. They can wipe an entire drive. They can completely crash the firmware. You don't know what's going to happen, and nor does UGREEN as best as intended as they are. So personally for me, I'm going to leave this on notify me when those updates are required, and I'll decide later on. After that, it's just a matter of allowing the system to configure, and then we can connect. Your NAS will require a reboot, which it does automatically during this step, so don't be concerned if it restarts. When that reboot is finished, it will connect up, ask you if you can have notifications enabled, and then you're good to go. You could now start configuring this from this mobile app. Or you could do what I'm about to do and install it on the desktop as well, since we will be using this on our Windows computer, and configure it from there. So what we're going to do is go to the nas.ugreen.com website, and we're going to go to download. So we've done the Play Store, and next we're going to do Windows. So click on Windows and download the installer and run it. When you have finished this, we will move on to configuring the NAS through the Windows environment. Logging into the app is just as easy as the mobile, simply because we now just click login with an account that already exists. As long as the computer's on the same network, you can click more connections and it will try to find your NAS. It will then populate the IP address and port field, which is the IP of your NAS, followed by port 9999, at which point you can enter your username and password that you created earlier on, select remember the password if you want to and auto login, and then log into your NAS. You are now 99% complete. You'll need to allow the file transfer synchronization protocol so that you can actually transfer files back and forth the NAS, and you're presented with the welcome screen. You'll even get a little tutorial on exactly what to do, where to click, and all the little basic functions therein. But now we can do a little bit of a deep dive on setting up our NAS and going through a lot of the settings. Now we've finally got to the point of creating our storage pool, and specifically we're going to be demonstrating how to create our first RAID. Now UGREEN also sent over 2 disk drives to go with this, and I'm really happy that the new GOS operating system will only show you the options available to you based on the fact of how many drives you have in the array. And right now we have 2 4TB Seagate hard drives. It's therefore showing us the options such as JBOD, RAID 0, RAID 1. I'm going to go with RAID 0. It offers no protection, but remember, RAID is not a backup. You should be following the 3-2-1 method. RAID 1, if you went with that, would give you one of the drives, the other would be mirrored. JBOD would give you both the drives individually, but none of the extra read and write speeds. Whereas RAID 0, although we're not having any particular protection enhancements, will give us the extra read and write speeds. We're going to use the entire system, and we're also going to put this as a BT RFS, which supports snapshotting, copying, assigning space quotas, shared folders, and advanced data integrity protection. UGOS will then show us a summary of the storage pool we are about to create, and as long as you're happy with that, you can go ahead and create that pool. It will advise you, obviously, that it will format these drives, so make sure you have no sensitive data on them. I really like the fact that it makes you put your password into the system before it lets you delete all that data. And then just a mere few seconds later, the storage pool is configured and ready for you to start adding folders and data to. Now, there is no data organizing available on these drives at this time, but the advanced settings also give you options to performance options such as prioritizing user read and writes or prioritizing RAID synchronization. It gives you various displays such as hard drive health status and available slots, which are really, really cool because it gives you a nice overview of the administration of your NAS. Now, I'm also going to create a folder on my new NAS so that I can move all my video editing files for this video to. So the way we're going to do that is go into Files, Create New Folder, type in my YouTube video, confirm. Then we're going to head over to the control panel, go to File Service, and enable SMB. We're going to click Apply, and then all we've got to do here is at the bottom where it says How to use Windows Resource File Manager, enter the following. If we click on it, we should be able to go to our Windows Explorer, pop in the address bar at the top and paste that in, and then it'll ask us for our details. And this is going to be the username and password of your account on your UNAS. So we'll pop our username in and our password, and we'll remember credentials, and then we're in. And we can see the personal folder, which is kind of the top level folder for our user account. If we click in there, we'll now see my YouTube videos, and it's an empty folder. So if I go over to my actual link in my hard drives, which is my YouTube videos, and I'll open this in a new tab, here's my DXP48 Plus content. It's about 10 gigs in size for now, but I'm going to copy and paste, and we'll see the speed across a 2.5 gigabit network. It's going to take about 5 minutes for a 10 gig load. Now, bearing in mind, this would be 4 times as fast if we were using a 10 gigabit network. Here's the same upload, but to Google Drive. What takes 5 minutes across the NAS takes up to 20 minutes on Google Drive. But we can use the 10 gigabit network interface of the NAS even if we don't have a 10 gigabit network. And you say, Keith, how is that possible? Well, let me show you. So I picked up on Amazon this 10 gigabit network NIC, network interface card. It's got dual 10 gigabit ports, RJ45s. You can just plug in regular old LAN cables. Obviously, you're going to need something like Cat 6 or above, but this is the Intel X540. Now, what I did, I put this into a spare PCIe slot in my motherboard, but if you are going to get one of these and you're running Windows 11, they highly suggest and recommend that you download the Windows 10 drivers for this. I did exactly that. I still had to go into my device manager, right-click the interface and install. And essentially, I had to go to this website where it was the Intel Network Adapter driver for Windows 10. And then I had to go down to 29.4. Now, that's just what all the guides recommend. I haven't tried any of the latest drivers, but a few people comment in different forums they have problems going forwards with them. But the 29.4 seems to work for them. And all I'm doing is downloading the wired driver 29.4x64 zip. I extract that zip into a folder on the desktop, and then when I go into Device Manager, I look down the list for the missing 2 ports, because there are 2 of them you'll need to identify. Right-click, install, and I point it to the folder of this download, and then it just finds those drivers, installs, and connects up to the network. It's really simple. So I'll leave links for everything in the description below for you. But let me show you exactly why this is so cool, because it's 4 times faster than the standard 2.5 gigabit network. And I'm not plugging this into my router. So on Google Drive, we saw up to 20 minutes, and on the 2.5 gigabit interface, we saw up to 5 minutes. These exact same files I transferred earlier on took me less than 2 minutes, and the speed was varying. It was going up and down, but that's a lot to do with the fact that there's varying degrees of size of files and a few other things involved in this particular folder. So the other thing we could do to drastically increase these speeds would be to put in a read-write cache, like 2 NVMe drives in RAID 0 or RAID 1 mirror rather. And I will be intending to do that later on, but I just wanted to give you a feel for the fact that we're almost hitting 350 megabytes per second just by putting it through the 10 gig NIC. And again, look, took less than 2 minutes total time. And just to give you more of an overview, you can see right here that new 10 gigabit network interface card on the back of my PC there. And that is trailing its Cat 6 cable all the way to the NAS, the UGREEN NAS there in the 10 gigabit port. And I'm going to show you how we kind of set that up and how that works now. So when the Cat cable is connected from the PC to the NAS, you want to head to the control panel and network, and you will find that LAN 1 is the 10 gigabit and LAN 2 is the 2.5 gigabit. Now, LAN 1 very clearly shows a unique IP address that is not part of my local area network, and that's because that is the IP address between the UGREEN NAS and my Windows 11 machine. So therefore, when we're setting this up on SMB or accessing the folders over the network, we must use that LAN 1 network. As you'll see here, the folder in the Windows Explorer Network folder is showing that same IP address. Now, the important thing for us to do is make sure that that doesn't change every time we restart the NAS or restart the Windows 11 system. And the way we do that is as follows. Back into the control panel and network and on LAN 1, we want to go into the IP settings and click manual. We then want to go down to gateway and DNS server, which will not be populated, and just amend them slightly so that they're almost the same as the IP address at the top of the page, but they end in number 1 on both sections. That way, this will stop the IP address from changing and you won't have to keep resetting it up on the Windows system or the NAS. Now let's get on with deploying Jellyfin. Now, UGREEN make this extremely simple. All you have to do is go over to the App Store on the UGOS and install Jellyfin. But there is a precursor, a warning that I would give you from doing this, and that's at the time of publishing this video, if you install the Jellyfin app via the App Store, you will not be able to modify the binded mount points later, and that means change where those TV shows or movies are, because it doesn't allow you to redeploy a Docker Compose file that has already been established after installation, only when installing from the App Store. But there is a workaround. If we open the Docker app inside UGOS and go to Project, click the 3 little dots that say More and go to Settings, followed by Compose Configuration. All we have to do is Control-A to select all and Control-C to copy. What we can now do is stop the Jellyfin container, go back to the main project screen, create a new project called Jellyfin Open, or whatever you want to call it. It's going to have the same storage path as the others, which is in the shared folder Docker Jellyfin. And then we're going to paste our compose file. And what this basically allows us to do, and also note that this is a Jellyfin image from UGREEN. This now allows us to change certain things about where our bind mounts are, our configurations, anything we would normally want to change in a Docker Compose, including the ports, etc. So now we can deploy this, which will launch its Jellyfin container. And if we want to modify it now, we can go to Settings, Compose Configuration, and it's no longer read-only. So that's your quick workaround for Jellyfin. So now, if we go to the Jellyfin app, it will open the Brave web browser or whatever browser you have installed on your main host computer. And you'll notice that the default port is no longer 8096 like it was in our compose file. Jellyfin defaults to 8899. And then we can just go through the setup procedure as we normally would, creating a username and then our media library. So for example, if we're going to pick movies and we go to folders, you would click the / at the top of the screen here, top of the list, go down to home, your username, Jellyfin, movies, or wherever in your compose file you've chosen. Because we copy and pasted the original compose file that UGREEN had created, it kind of gives this long home username Jellyfin movies path, but you can change this back in the compose file. Now, obviously you can go through and change all the settings to your heart's content. I've got a really great video already on YouTube showing how to get the absolute best out of Jellyfin, and although that wasn't built specifically for UGREEN, you can certainly use it to follow along from this moment onwards. And we're also going to add in our shows. Again, go into that / at the top, home, over at Jellyfin show, or whatever the path is that you created in the compose file. Once you're happy with that, you can finish the rest of the set. I would always enable automatic port mapping on this particular device, unless you know exactly what you're doing. And as simple as that, we're in. We can now start importing all our media. All we've got to do at this point is move any media that we have, if we didn't automatically select it, into the Jellyfin folder, into movies and TV shows. Or if you already have a place where all your files, all your media files are already at, you can always go back into the Docker project, Jellyfin open, 3-dot menu, settings, compose configuration, and you'll notice where it says here, like for example, home over at Jellyfin movies, you could edit to the left of the colon. So if you edit that path to wherever on your NAS those files are for movies, paste the path in there. So for example, if we were at files and I don't know, we had a folder in here called movies, so we can copy the path from its properties really simply if you don't want to manually type it in, and then go back to our compose file, at which point just select that directory and then paste over it. And now the Jellyfin movies folder is in a different place. In fact, if you wanted to, we could even do what I recommend in my primary video, which is remove all this home stuff and do data movie. And if you watch my video, you'll see exactly why I recommend doing it this way. So if we go data TV shows, the reason why we keep them in the data folder is simply because it keeps a unified structure inside the Docker container. Because if you don't put them in the same unified structure, it treats it as a different file system and then can slow down operation, data transfer rate, drive movements and such. And we'll also create a TV. Maybe we already have a TV shows folder. I'm just doing this to assume that you might already have these things. You can right click properties and copy, go back into the compose file, and then to the left of the colon, we always edit. Simple as that. Now, after we redeploy this, we don't need the latest image. We'll just deploy it as is. That's recreated. But don't forget, now we've moved those, we need to amend where our movies are actually residing. So back on the server, we need to go into library and manage library. Yes, change where these folders are. So it should now show data with a capital D. Oh, it actually fills out the thing for us. Look, see, there's got data TV shows, data movies. The top level file structure, we could just click data and there's our movies. That's us updating the movies. Manage library, remove the old path, put the new folder in. Capital D, we put differentiate from the lowercase d of the config directory. Yeah, and then I would just scan all libraries again if you have any content in those directories. Simple as that. So that's how you deploy Jellyfin on UGOS. That's how you get your Docker containers going, and that's how you do your file transfers. Again, big shout out to UGREEN for sending the equipment over, and I hope you've enjoyed the video, especially if you're a beginner or maybe just looking to sharpen some skills. But thanks for watching as always, and I'll catch you in the next one.